Good morning, CCC. It's always a privilege and a pleasure to be with you. And today, you're going to see the grand entrance of my new, not mine, but the new pulpit we're having for the preaching. See, it's coming nice and nighty. No one. Kids did a great job, right? It's always good having the kids walking through. Remember when I was little, it's always a nice thing. But I think we can have our own version. What do you think? We don't have the props and the branches, but we can picture them, we can imagine having a branch. And I'm going to invite you to do it and pretend you have a branch in your hands, okay? We're going to wave the branch. And for 3 times, we're going to say, all hail the King. All hail King Jesus. We'll be specific. So we're going to say, all hail King Jesus. All hail King Jesus.
All hail King Jesus.
That's good. That's good. We're going to do that. Let's try to make sure that we get it right. That's our own celebration, right? We don't have palm trees, branches, but we'll try. Again, let's try it. All hail King Jesus.
All hail King Jesus. All hail King Jesus.
The only problem is you can't do it seated because it's a celebration, and the people, they were really celebrating. So I'm going to announce, pretend Jesus is coming here, I'm announcing him, and then you're going to stand and then claiming King Jesus. Okay, we'll try that. His Majesty, King Jesus! All hail King Jesus! All hail King Jesus!
All hail King Jesus!
You're doing well. You can have a seat. The problem is, I think we are in the season we call March. Come on, where are the basketball people? I thought I was in Indiana. We are in March Madness, and I'll tell you, Palm Sunday was madness. People was going crazy. It's like always the last second shots you have to win the game. We have a few of them, right? And people start jumping, high-fiving the stranger next to them. They're so excited. So let's do a madness version of the celebration, okay? You can stand, you can jump, I can't whistle, but whistle if you want. Do whatever. We're going to celebrate madly as people were doing on Palm Sunday. I'm going to do the announcement, and you're going to erupt and do that and clap at the end to welcome Jesus into the room. Are you ready? Make noise, okay? Pastor Mark agreed. He gave me permission to do that. So ready? Okay. His Majesty, King Jesus. Oh! And then he said, thank you. You can have a seat. That was Palm Sunday. It wasn't a quiet day. It was the busiest, the noisiest, the most celebration you would see in the Bible around Jesus. Because Hosanna, the King, is coming. Now, I wanted to share with you 3 characteristics of a king. It's not exhaustive. That's not everything. But that will help us for the message today. The first characteristic of a king is that the king is established by bloodline. You didn't go to election to vote for a king. The king wasn't chosen by, somebody thinking today, well, this guy is so powerful, he's going to be the king. The way to become a king is that you came from a line of kings. Your dad, your granddad, somebody in your family was a king. And this is why you see in movies sometimes when somebody steals power to become king, they're not in the line. They have to kill everybody in that line, because even the baby 1-year-old will be the king if he came from that line. And that's why we see in Matthew chapter 1, verse 1, it is well established. It says, this is the genealogy of Jesus, the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. That's a key passage. Matthew was written to the Jews. He wanted them to understand. We're not just talking about somebody who pretends to be a king. That's the fulfillment of the promise God made to David. Jesus was the son of David. So bloodline, first thing. Second characteristic of a king rules with absolute authority. I mean, you know, the apple tree in your garden, it is for the king. If you decide today I'm going to eat from this apple tree, that is apple tree. The king might be walking around and doesn't like the way you dress. He might say, well, I don't like the way this guy, he doesn't have good taste. Just go and execute him. And you will say, but he didn't do anything. Doesn't matter. You might say, but that's not fair. That's not the law. No, the king doesn't have to obey the law. The king is the law. So he reigns with absolute power. They had that understanding that the king was established by the gods. You know, it's like the gods decided. It's not a human transaction. It's heavens decided about the king, so nobody can touch him. So they get to the point when they would consider the king as really a little god. So the king is not just a human being like a Superman. He is more than that. He is God. That's what you had in Egypt, the Pharaoh. They were considered being God. And this is why it was so offensive when the Israelites asked Samuel for a king. And it was like, why do you need a king for? You have a king. You have Yahweh. And you, it is as if a little kid, you saw the kids coming here, but one of them will come to his mom and say, Mom, I need a mom. I'm your mom. No, I need another mom. So that's what they were saying. All the other nations have king. We want a king. And Samuel said, no, you can't do that. God is your king. So the king is established and rules with absolute power. Another thing, third characteristic of a king, because the king rules with absolute power, a king demands complete allegiance. Your existence is to make the king happy. That's the whole reason you exist, is to make the king happy. In a kingdom, you don't have citizen, you have subject. In a kingdom, there is no question of we the people, because we exist for the king. In a kingdom, there is no I pledge allegiance to the flag or to the republic. No. You pledge allegiance to the king. We sometimes, we live in the country of the free. We sometimes understand freedom as being doing whatever we want, whenever we want. But in reality, friends, we're not that free. Somebody or something is controlling our life. Somebody or something is influencing our decisions, what we do or don't do. Somebody is or something is the king of your life. So the question, who is that person or that thing? If it's not Jesus, you are in trouble. Because we will be pledging allegiance to someone. So who is your king today? So I was looking at this message and I was thinking, maybe you get those 3 points. We establish Jesus is king. That's virtually the end of the message. And then I realized, when we're talking Jesus, we're not just talking ordinary thing. It's not just like everybody else. Jesus always have a way to raise the bar, to move what was complete to a more, I don't even have the word, to a more complete way. And that's why I'm going to present three characteristics of Jesus as a king. That, I mean, the way I call it on my points is like three exceptional ways King Jesus stands apart from every other king. And for me, I was like, that's not possible. I already said the king rules with absolute authority. What can be more than absolute? Nothing. It's when you said something is good, and when we work on it, you improve it, and you have a 2.0, right? You have a better version of it. And then you keep doing it, and you have the best version. When you have the best version, you can't go anywhere else. Yeah, I know sometimes we call it the best of the best, but really that doesn't make sense. If it is the best, you can't go anywhere else. And that's the thing I was saying. If a king is absolute power, you can't go anywhere else. And Jesus came, he said, I am the King of Kings. And that's the first characteristic that propelled Jesus even higher, making him exceptionally better than any other king. He's not just a king. He is the king. He is the King of Kings. The best of the best. The absolute of the absolute. He is, in sport, I think we call that a goat, right? Not the animal, but the greatest of all time. Jesus is the goat. Because he is the King of Kings. In Revelation, we read on his robe, Revelation 19:16. On his robe and on his thigh, he has his name written. I would say, technically, they're saying that's his birth certificate, right? His name is written King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So for Jesus, first characteristic that stands him apart, he is the King of Kings. He is over everything you can imagine with absolute power. The second thing is, Jesus is the everlasting King. I don't know whether you've noticed from the genealogy in Matthew. They started with David. I mean, there were people before that, but they started with David. You get David, Solomon, and you get Abijah, Asa, Hezekiah, Jacob, Joseph, and you get to Jesus. What after Jesus? Nothing. That's the end of the sentence. That's the end of the search. We've tried, and we get to Jesus, and it's done. It is completed. It is finished. You don't have to look anymore because you find what you are looking for. The promise was you will have a king that will reign forever, and you have this king, and then you have that king, and you have that, and finally you get to Jesus, and you say, this is it. No more search. It's like when you're on a train and you get to stop 1, stop 2, and finally they say, that's the last stop, you need to get off because we can't go anywhere. Jesus is so complete. Jesus is so big, you don't need, and there is no need for anything after Jesus because Jesus is everything. Everlasting King. Every other king, we have to study them in our history book. Oh yeah, we talk about this great emperor. No, in the study book. With Jesus, he's alive. He was alive yesterday, he's alive today, and will be alive forever as our King and the King of Kings. So that's the second one. And then we get to the third one. The third thing that set Jesus apart from every other king. And I get to that point, and I was shocked. And I'm wondering, am I reading the same story? Because we were talking about, you agree, that's a day of celebration. We are rejoicing. We are proclaiming Jesus, Hosanna. Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. This is celebratory. However, we read in Luke chapter 19, Luke 24, verse 41. They said, as he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. Jesus is all powerful. He can do whatever he wants. Jesus is going to last forever. He doesn't need anything. He is complete. He is God. Why do we stand here in front of this big, the best day of his life, reading that Jesus approached Jerusalem and saw the city and he wept? Why? I mean, after all, this is the only time publicly people acknowledge Jesus as the king. I mean, before that, they will come because they were hungry and Jesus giving free food. You know, if you give in free food, people are there. They came because they wanted miracles. They were sick and Jesus can heal them. Of course, I'm here. I'm going to be first one in line. They wanted something, but today, for the first time, they recognize him for who he is, the King of Israel. And the only reason they're here is to proclaim him as king. So he was happy. He's saying, finally, people, you got it. I've been telling you for 3 years who I am. You didn't want to acknowledge it. Today, finally, you get it. He was happy. He wanted what was, due to him. And when the Pharisees came and said, oh, your people are making too much noise, get them to be quiet. And he said, no, they have to celebrate. And if they don't do it, even the stones, the rocks will do it. So it was full in. He was rejoicing. That was the right thing to do. But in the middle of this, the biggest day of his life, Jesus approached Jerusalem and saw the city and he wept. I believe there will be usually two reactions when Jesus comes and looks over us. When he looks over my life, when he looks over your life, he's either going to rejoice with you, rejoice with heaven like the prodigal son that you come back home, or he's going to cry. He's going to weep. And the question is, what is he doing today? I mean, I can't know. Nobody knows, but he knows. He's looking over your life today, now. Is he rejoicing? Or is he crying? Looks over Jerusalem and he wept. He said, if you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace. He was crying because he felt rejected. You see, what God is expecting from us is not our things. What God is expecting from us is not the sacrifices, is not the things we're doing for God. What he wants the most is a relationship with you. He wants to be your friend. He wants to be able to come and talk to you. He wants to be able to have a relationship with you. And when he comes and says, I love you, when he comes and says, I would like to be your friend, and you say, oh, don't mind, I have other friends, I have other things to do. And he felt rejected. And he was standing there and said, if only you knew how much I love you. If only you knew when I come to you as your friend. But constantly, they were saying, no, I don't want it. And that's what we say today. We see that in our country, in our schools. We don't want Jesus. We're not religious. And human being, that's the problem with us. Unfortunately, in our nature. I mean, we don't need to think it through. That's how we built. In our nature, we don't want God. We don't like God. We can't stand God's presence. It's not a matter of want. No, it's how we made. And you can see in Genesis, that's what we read in Genesis. Genesis 3:9-10. It said, but the Lord God called to the man, where are you? And you know the story. God made Adam and Eve, placed them in the garden, and I like picturing that. Every day God will come and spend time with Adam and Eve. I mean, picture that. It's like your friends coming home and come and play basketball with you. Come and hang out with you. They were friends. They were perfect relationship. Every day that's happened. And then one day God opened the door and come, and he doesn't see his friend. And God said, where's my friend? And he started naming people. Mike, where are you? Looking in the house, trying to see. And that's what God is doing. And the whole Bible, 66 books or whatever, it's one story. It's God looking for you. God looking for his friends. Adam, where are you? And guess what? Adam runs. He runs as far as possible, as far as his little legs can take him. He keeps running away. He hears the voice of God and he runs away. And God finally catch up with him and say, Adam, what happened? He said, I heard you in the garden and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. And that's what we keep doing today. We heard God's voice, but we run away because it's not in our nature to want God. And sometimes we do that because of sins. You know, oh man, we've done so much. Our life is so dirty. We don't think God will ever forgive us. You know, we had worse. And let me tell you, that's exactly why he came. He didn't come for the good people at church. No, I mean, he came for them too. But he really came for the one who needed to be saved. He came for sinners like you and me. He came for people who don't deserve it. Nobody does, but sometimes we think we do. But he came for the people who acknowledge, I'm a sinner. So there is no sins that will be too much for Jesus for you today. Wherever you are, if you are ready and want to repent, well, Jesus is for you. He's your King. He's waiting. He's calling. And sometimes we don't come because we like, well, I'm going through a rough time and life is so heavy on me. I don't think you will understand. Sometimes people say, if I explain to you, you won't understand, but I'll tell you, he will understand. He will understand. And that's one of the reasons Jesus became human. I mean, yes, it was to die on the cross, but he became human so you don't see him just as the king sitting all over there on the throne, but to understand he came near you. He came as close as possible as anybody else. So when you say something, he will get you. Because he's done that. Been there, done that. He became human. So when life is difficult, 3 a.m., you can't sleep, you're crying, you can't bear it anymore. He will say, friends, son, daughter, I get you because on the night I was betrayed, I couldn't sleep either. I was crying all night because of the pain. So yes, he is the king, but he's not out there. He's near. He is available. And he's here for you. So he cries because it's so hard, so painful to feel rejected by the people you love. But he also cries for another reason. He cries because as God, he knows the future. And you see, sometimes we start well, and you think life will continue to be that. You know, we're young, powerful, smart, things are going well. And we think life is going to continue like that, but no. Because, as you know, in Romans we read, the wages of sins is death. There is no way, friends, you can be living apart from God and be successful in your life. There is no way you can succeed. Yes, you can have the things temporarily in life, but you cannot succeed in life without Jesus in your life. You cannot experience everlasting peace. And that's why Jesus was crying. The second reason, as we read in Luke 19, verse 43, we said Jesus told them, the days will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you in on every side. They will dash you to the ground, you and the children within your walls. They will not leave one stone on another, because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you. He was crying because he can see the pain that's coming to them. And indeed, 40 years later, Jesus was presenting his prophecy like around year 30. In year 70, the Roman Emperor Titus came to Jerusalem and destroyed absolutely everything, destroyed the temple, and they didn't have one stone on another, exactly as Jesus prophesied. Now, if you were living 30, 40 years when Jesus was saying that, maybe they were laughing at him. Said, you don't know. We are the best nation. You are a God nation. We're blessed. That can happen to us. But he knows. He knows the present. He knows the future. He knows that there is no way you can succeed without him. So what I'm saying is there is absolutely, and I use this word a lot today, absolute. There is absolutely no way you can choose to live apart from God and experience true happiness or lasting peace in your life. We're going to have the worship team come in to sing the last song. I would like to invite you to think that through. What it means to say, Jesus is your King. What you're saying is, I acknowledge Jesus is the promise. It's the fulfillment of the promise that God made to David in the Bible. What you're saying is, you want God to control your life, every aspect of your life. What you're saying is, I'm pledging allegiance to God, the one and only King, the true King, the King of Kings. So I'd like you to sing the song. I mean, the words are amazing, but not just sing it, but pray it. Making it your prayer to God at the moment. Acknowledging him as your King, and praise him for who he is, the King of Kings.